Hey everyone, before this video gets started, I just wanted to say a couple things about it. If you are particularly sensitive to swearing, you might want to skip this video because the later half gets a little heavy for that particular topic, as things got a little bit wild towards the end of it. It starts off for the first half as like a debate format, but then it sort of shifted into being more of a podcast, which was fine by me. I just thought I'd let you guys know. I think you will enjoy this video. And for those of you that are wondering before you really get into it, I take a neutral stance in this video. I am not publicizing my opinions on the Chaos DLC or any of that other stuff, which I might talk about at a later date. But I'm staying out of that for now. I was just invited to this talk for the sake of providing context and answering some questions that came out about lore, and I had a really good time. I get involved about halfway in, a third of the way in, because the first kind of stuff they talked about didn't really involve me for a while. But that being said, I hope you guys really enjoyed the video. I'll be putting a link down in the description to the host channel. He's a pretty fun guy. He's very aggressive, but in a good way. And you very well might enjoy his videos. So when you finish this video, feel free to pop over to his channel and see if it's something you're interested in and would like to subscribe. At the very least, we should shoot him a thank you for having me out. It was a really good time, and I had a bunch of fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's a good thing to just put on the background and listen, and it's pretty fun. So thanks for listening. There will be some pretty important news on the channel coming out soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Thanks again. Have a good one.
Hello and welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen, to the debate. Now I'm going to be joined by 5 special lovely guests. We have Loremaster of Sotek.
How's it going?
We have Beavers.
Hello.
Gambling.
Hey.
Sander.
Hi there.
And Master Sith.
Greetings.
All right, so Master Sith and Beavers are going to be against, and Sander and Gambling are for, and Loremaster of Sotek is our Loremaster expert. So he'll be there to provide lore support if we need any sort of references to the lore of the Warhammer universe, then he can just step on in and enlighten us with his brilliant knowledge there. So, first things first, we're going to be talking about the pre-order incentives as a whole. That refers it to like Chaos of Warriors or like the Viking DLC. Does Total War Warhammer need those DLCs? Is it relevant or not relevant? Is it necessary to actually have incentives, or is it holding people like against their will, like hostage? Like you have to pre-order or you won't get the DLC. You guys can say stuff.
Who do you not want to start for or against? I guess I'll start. Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, firstly, Total War's a niche market if you think about it, because strategy genre is slowly dying. If you look at the long term, it going year by year. Less people buying strategy games, more people buying FPS games like Call of Duty, even though I think it sucks. But anyway, so the year Rome 2 was released, CA made an operating loss of £700,000, but they actually did make a profit on the overall game, but that profit was taken away from them by Sega, because Sega, take a portion of their income from that game. So while Sega profited from that, CA made a total loss, and this is why they try to help make up for it by using pre-order incentives to help bring in the extra money. That's not just pre-order incentives, that's also DLCs. Think of that how you will, I guess.
Sander, want to comment on that at all?
Yeah. I think what he's trying to say is we all remember the PlayStation 3, how it almost immediately the rumor came around that the building cost of the actual machine was 1,000 euros, dollars, whatever. But they sold it for 400. The same is going on with Total War games. They sell them way under budget and make up for it in DLC. Because they know once people have the main game, they can recuperate from their losses in the DLC, and that's how the product can stand and survive.
All right, the against team. Any comments on that?
Yeah. I'd say there was a loss for Rome too. Though I think a big part of that would be the massive amount of reviews saying it had a terrible beginning. I mean, I could quote just a couple of people saying how terrible it started. Angry Joe and there's that Australian fellow whose name I've just suddenly forgotten. Who basically was in like a month. And I'm sure you guys remember how Rome 2 was released. I mean, I was excited as crazy because I've been a fan since the first Shogun. And its start was just horrific. I think, say, about half of my friends who played Total War just didn't buy it because of the reviews alone. Although strategy, it does do terrible at times, though, with, like, the hype for, like, StarCraft 2, the new DLC, and the DLC for that, that's been hyped like crazy. People are super excited for that. From what I've heard, it's doing well. Like, people are, loving all the trailers and everything. Everyone I know who plays it is, all that jazz. Yes, it's not the most popular market, but as you said, although FPSs were the thing, if you look at now, it's role-playing games. It just takes one really good game or a couple of really good games to bring it back. And if Rome 2 was, say, released as we hoped, maybe it wouldn't have done so terrible. Maybe it would have done pretty damn good. And I bought it. I didn't even look at reviews or trailers or anything, really. I just pre-ordered it because I wanted it. And with Sega, the thing about Sega, yes, they basically did get the profit, which sucks for CA. And from what I've heard from a source, it's Sega is the reason that Rome 2 came out so early, so unready. However, that doesn't really make it a good thing. I mean, if we would have been told, maybe we could have... maybe I doubt Sega would have liked that, but maybe if they let us know, we could have petitioned as a huge group to let them have more time. Because us as the fan base would do anything to have this thing that we love so much have extra time to be as good as they wanted. And if you remember before Rome 2 came out, they were always saying how it's the biggest budget they've ever had for a game, for any Total War game. And it's going to be the best yet, and it's going to be this massive project but they can do it because all these teams have bought. And its release state was just not up to standard.
All right, Master Sith, a comment on that at all?
Well, I agree with a lot of those points. With Sega actually pushing for more rapid deployment of games, that does make things a little difficult. But I don't really think I have anything further to add just yet.
I think like Beavers and us have said, with Sega pushing CA, it's because recently, I'm not sure how recently, maybe a year or two ago, they said that they wanted to make the Total War series one of their flagship games, almost, to kind of spearhead their other titles. And you can see that has kind of failed, whether that's through them pushing the faster development of games to get them out, because they're so hyped and they don't want to disappoint, in inverted commas, the community by releasing it late. But this is also resulting in a loss of quality at the same time, because Sega are too focused on wanting to push their flagship title out there.
I think this is, by the way, true, but I just want to remind everyone that even though Rome 2 felt pushed onto the market, it had already been delayed twice before it was actually launched. The release date has been postponed twice before they actually pushed it onto the market. So I do believe Sega does actually listen to CA to an extent. Only if you're gonna ask for a postpone right after the other one finished, it's got to stop at a point. You got to finish it at some point. Second thing is the failure of Rome 2. Why do you think CA failed it? In my opinion, it is because they wanted to make it too big. It was way too big of a project. They had way too little funds to do it.
And you can also see that with Empire too. Like if you look at Empire and Napoleon, you can see that because they refined what they did with Empire, they made the better and more popular Napoleon Total War. And that's exactly what, in my opinion, I think is best for Warhammer, if it's more refined, like they said. And if that means there are a few more, like if there's DLCs and stuff, then I'm okay with that as long as it's refined and working on release.
Any further comments on the subject?
Yes. If they're needing to scale down, which I agree would be a good idea for them to scale down a bit and work out the kinks and get everything perfect, then we shouldn't have, this is probably going to the next thing, one of the little ones, we shouldn't have incentives because that means they're wasting time.
Yeah, but the incentives was because they wanted to put Chaos in because they didn't have any more budget, right? So they went to Sega, like they say in their blog post, and they said, look, can we have this separate budget for this separate faction that we want to put in, because we want to put in more work, we want to add more units, we want to make it playable, we want to do this. So they had to be given a separate budget. But of course, Sega demanded that this needs to be, because it's a separate budget, there needs to be a separate income from this budget, whether that's through pre-order sales, which sells more, where it's supposed to sell more of the base game, and that will give them income from that separate budget, give them a separate income, whether it's through pre-order incentive or DLCs.
See, that's good, but however, it seems like they're overreaching because we still haven't seen vampire counts yet. We've seen
but that doesn't
for vampire counts.
That doesn't mean that they haven't finished vampire counts.
The chaos
that could just mean that they want to, show us later. That doesn't mean they're prioritizing anything.
We haven't seen the orc roster either.
That could just mean they're not necessarily prioritizing, but just that's how they're being shown.
But show us the main game first. I mean, it's so far before launch, and if they say it's in alpha, and they've got time to work on a pre-order incentive, if it's not ready now, that means that's just loads of time.
Yeah, but they have. If you look on their website, I'm not sure if it's still there, but there was a job listed a while ago, and it was I'm not sure exactly what position, but it's noted
3D.
down as for their a 3D artist or something, and it was for their DLC team. So they have a separate DLC team working on these separate incentives and DLCs. So it wouldn't actually affect the progress they make on anything else because they've already got a separate team.
You say that, but with Rome 2, they said they had more teams than ever. They said they have more teams. They have a special guy going just for. They have a team just for sieges. They have a team just for this, just for that, and it still wasn't ready. And that was supposed to be the biggest budget they'd ever had. Now, if Shogun 2 can be done to such a nice degree, although its core did have problems, its core campaign did have issues. If they had such a huge team then and they still couldn't do it, it's very possible that they still can. I mean, a 3D what?
A 3D artist, I think.
Right. A 3D artist does not make a full team.
Yeah, but it was just one of the positions displayed for that team.
But that means they've hired, as they've shown so far, an extra person. It'd be better if they were just working for the main game and pumping it out. I mean, they could perhaps be further along. Well, they would more than likely be further along.
I think you have to ask this question to yourself: which was better? Was Napoleon better than Empire? Was Attila, even though it wasn't a great game, was it better than Rome 2?
It depends on release or end result. Because Attila also has better mechanics. I'd say Rome 2 is better because it's more versatile.
But Attila has better mechanics because it was more refined.
Doesn't make it a better game, though.
It doesn't make it a better game, but it does bring it a step up and closer to how we want CA to be.
That took a full game for them to realise then how to make the game that is basically just that, but an expansion.
I think they did realise from their mistakes with Sega.
It's not realising from your mistake if you have to do it again.
Yeah, but they would already have this planned, I think. I think they would have already planned out Attila's release after Rome 2. They might have even been working on it They might have even been working on it while they were working on Rome 2. Who
Oh,
knows?
I don't doubt that. They probably would have been, because it can take a very long time to make a game, and
Yeah.
it was what within 2 years after.
Well, I know Warhammer. They've been working on it for what, 2, 3?
Ages, yeah.
Yeah, 3 years, something like that.
I think we saw the first screenshot for Warhammer in a CA office before Attila was made.
Yeah.
Well, released. But I'd rather them just work on the main 4 factions. I mean, I really wanted just Chaos to be like a rebel faction, a scary faction. Like, oh, they're going to come out of the woodwork and they're going to screw you over. They're not balanced, they're just going to kill you. But with them taking time to separate that and make it a DLC and working it separately, I'd rather them just do the main game. Honestly, like, I'd rather them always just do the main game with all their games. Because when they work really hard, just the main game, it works well. I mean, Shogun 2 was not very diverse, as you can imagine, because it's, just they're all very similar units. And the artistry and all the skill that it took, all the extra time they had to weave all this cool music into it and all this talent, made it so beautiful and so fun. And if they spend more time doing DLC or incentives, then it might take away some of the time they have to perfect the game itself.
Sam, did you want to add anything? Because
Yeah, I almost knocked over my mug. No, but no. They haven't changed anything about Warhammer even after the announcement of Chaos, the Chaos faction as a DLC. When CA announced what factions would be in Warhammer right at the beginning, they already stated there would be 4 factions, and this has always been the plan. And they're still doing that. Only halfway through, they decided to already work on another faction. On like they said before, a separate
budget.
separate budget and a separate product and a separate team. Because if you want the entire main game to come with all the factions and everything polished and done as it is, they obviously calculated what that would cost. And even though they don't want to specify any numbers, they have told us that that budget would have to be 4 times as big as the budget they have now.
I think the problem when I see people arguing like, oh, why from after the pre-incentive with the Chaos, when they say, oh, why couldn't Chaos be in the main game? Like you said, they were never actually promised as a playable faction. So if you wanted them in the main game so much, why weren't you arguing this before it was announced as a pre-incentive? Why did you only start arguing it when CA announced Chaos as a incentive faction?
I never cared about Chaos, really. I wanted the
Well,
4
no,
factions
not you
I know.
necessarily, but generally there are people who have only just begun arguing the point that Chaos should be in the main game. But this was after the if you wanted them so bad, why didn't you start arguing for them before the pre-order
I know a
incentive?
couple of people who did, though.
Yeah, but it wasn't nearly on the scale as afterwards,
It would be on the
Of course.
same scale as people asking for the Border Princess or...
Yeah, exactly. Everyone has their favourite factions, and I reckon CA probably get that. They get that there are a portion who think Chaos is the main faction. But then you could say there's a portion, I don't know about Sotek and what he thinks, but there's probably a lot of people who think Empire is the main faction in Warhammer, or I don't know.
Well, I mean, depending on how you come at the story, there are people who see the elves as the main story. There are people who prefer the storyline and things going on between the undead factions. So it's hard to pinpoint who's the main guy. Chaos tends to be, in Warhammer, a force that shows up once every couple hundred years and does some stuff. But outside of that, they're very rarely involved, unless it's a large-scale invasion. Whereas your everyday factions would be the Dwarves, Empire, things like that. So there are a lot of people who sort of came out of the woodwork saying that Chaos was the main faction. You can't do Warhammer without Chaos. But I would say that when CA originally planned So if you buy the main game, to my understanding, without the DLC, you still get Chaos as an enemy. It's not playable. Which that's the way Chaos usually works in the Warhammer worlds. They're just the big scary enemy. They're the boogeyman that shows up later on. So it seems like CA initially had that as the plan, but something happened along the development where they decided to add in the DLC, and it looks like really all the DLC adds is it makes them playable, but it gives you, I think I counted like 6 new units will be added and 2 heroes.
It could be possibly that they couldn't afford to make Chaos in the first place. So
that was the
That's
case.
what we've been saying.
Because that's what we've been saying the whole way through.
Let me finish. Can I finish talking before you butt in?
Sure.
Right. I meant, as a general, like, even just a small background force that even just causes extra corruption. Maybe they couldn't get those type of mechanics the way they wanted. So they thought, oh, we could just do it as a pre-order incentive instead and get budget and money for it.
I don't think personally that's what happened. I think what happened is they were planning this, like Loremaster Sotek said, for them just to be sort of a force that's there and comes in at some point. And then they decided, because I think they did say some of the people, including obviously the Loremaster there, Andy, obviously play Warhammer, so they've got their own favourite factions probably, and they've probably been like talking to each other, asking which faction they should make playable. So they were like, eventually they saw that maybe they should try and make Chaos playable, even though they can't make it playable in the base game because they didn't have the money, because they were using all the base game money, budget, whatever, to do the other 4 factions. So that's why they went to Sega and asked for that extra budget to do Chaos as a playable faction.
I think it's also important to keep in mind that a faction expansion in Warhammer is a whole lot different than we've seen before. It's not just going to be turning a 0 into 1 in the option playable faction, yes or no. It's gonna add quests and interactions between factions, and it's gotta add these legendary lords with animations and backstories. And
I think when Sander brings up that point, you should look at Andy, the Loremaster, right? Think of it from his perspective, right? If he needs to add, say, I don't know, 5 quests to every faction, right? He's also adding the descriptions to them, yeah? So he's also adding the descriptions for the skill points, for the units, for the lords. Think how much work that is to do for him, just one person, one Loremaster, right? So that could be part of the reason why they're releasing it in DLCs. It could be like a plus, because he wouldn't be able to write all that information in one go. So maybe they're releasing it in DLCs and pre-order incentives so he can get through writing all of the descriptions bit by bit.
The only issue with this is it's still going to take assets other than the new team. It's still going to take time from people who aren't in the new team for the DLC. So, for example, like, say there's someone who communicates between the teams, like an overall manager who checks progress and stuff. It's still going to take him time to, and other people, of course, to go and look at the current state of the DLC, or to communicate between the other groups. And it's still time spent that could be used for other things. I don't know, I'm banging on about that quite a lot. But,
I hate to interject here, but I think we should probably move on to another subject because we're getting...
I mean, whenever Master Sith wants to come in.
Oh yeah, Master Sith has been trying to speak.
I tried a few times, but...
Okay, go ahead, Master.
But now it's almost irrelevant.
No, get the closing statement in. You get the closing statement. Go for it.
Well, one thing that I was thinking about too is we keep bringing up the fact of money and everything costing so much. But what about all these indie publishers that suddenly come out of the woodworks with these amazing games that are completely in depth, have wonderful mechanics, and they're doing it with little to no budget? Why couldn't they do something like that? Or, alternately, why couldn't they just get people to do some sort of donation to help towards the creation of the game? They have that as a thing nowadays, after all.
I think it's because CA aren't a indie company. They're owned by Sega, and obviously I don't think Sega is that kind of company. I think what CA needs to improve the games they make is competition. like, I think everyone agrees they do need competition in this specific niche genre.
Good.
And they have a little bit of competition, like I think Scourge of Waterloo. That was kind of along the lines of a Total War battle, but obviously not on the same graphics level, etc. But that's just as good a game as Total War is, you know? So I think they just need good competition, making the same types of games to sort of wake CA up.
But it proves that you don't potentially need a lot of money to, or at least not a shit ton as much as people might think you do.
I'm going to interject here because I want to move on to another subject. All right, so now we're going to move on to the community treatment. Now, this is less of Sega's doing. Well, maybe. I mean, I guess you could argue that. But community treatment of, like, let's say the petition. If you've been following the petition, you'll notice that CA has tried, or they claim CA has tried multiple times to censor them. Or, for example, the forums. Now, the forums... Oh no, I can't talk about that. But the forums and the censorship of, or the removal of comments and posts and relocating them to certain areas, or Facebook posts as well as blocking and removing comments as well there. So, take it away.
I don't mind if I start. I don't know if you guys want to say something in, but with them removing stuff, if you're looking at terms and conditions, they had it in before that you weren't allowed to post petitions and stuff in their terms and conditions. So, but that's probably the reason why they're removing petitions, because it was there already as a rule.
Well, they didn't remove the petition. Again, I don't want to comment further. It's still there.
Censor / from their forum. People posting it there, they got it moved to chat, didn't they? And they complained about that, but that's because it's in the forum's terms and conditions. So
Surely, like, terms and conditions should be able to, like, infringe, like, some freedom of speech, though. It's a bit unfair.
Yeah, but those rules were there to start off with. Like, they're not a new thing. They were there.
Freedom of speech laws were there before that existed.
On the internet, I doubt it.
I don't think it's the same thing, though. I don't think. Yeah, because it's the internet, like Sandra said. You know, it's not the same.
There is no constitution of the internet.
Right?
Although there is the whole. Well, with all these legal business classes that I've been taking, they do have to be very careful with what is put on their public thing that reflects their views and whatnot. They have to be extremely careful with what is actually placed there, and it is difficult, perhaps, to say that they're removing comments that they shouldn't, but at the same time, they have to protect themselves and their legal requirements that they have to follow, and also they have to follow Sega's rules in that regard as well.
But nowadays, you can use like things I put on Facebook in legal battles. You could put, oh well, they commented this on my status, so therefore they mean this. It happens often, very often on Judge Judy.
I don't think CA are the only ones with this these terms and conditions.
That's true.
It's
That's
all
true.
game companies probably, most game companies.
or at least a lot. Yeah,
a lot of them.
But it doesn't mean it's right though.
No, yeah. I mean, in my opinion, you should be able to post petitions because you're only trying to improve the game. I mean, but I guess they could say that maybe they're trying to be forced, in their opinion, off track from what they want in the game. If that makes sense. Like, just because the community wants it, that's not necessarily, whatever the subject, the right thing for the company to do, because the company may have an overall plan for the game over several years, because there is going to be expansions.
Yeah, after all, look at all those people demanding better multiplayer, and they are even saying they're not going to do it.
You never know. There might be better they said no, but maybe I mean, it's a long shot, but perhaps they do have a plan to improve multiplayer over the expansions. Who knows? We don't know, do we? So when you are...
I guess we'll find out after about $300 more.
Yeah, exactly.
That's sad, though.
But it just might have been their overall plan. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
That was fun. But, okay, so now we can move on to a topic where I think Sotek is a little excited to cover, or not cover, but partake in, is the rosters and factional stuff. So everyone's seen the Dwarven, Orc, and the Empire roster. Yes, maybe?
Yep.
I've only seen the Empire roster.
Well, if you pop on the forum or the Total War website, you should be able to pull that up. They have all the roster information there. And then, as you guys stated before, which actually is news to me, that they will be adding more additional content over the game. That is
They said that in the live stream that in between games and in expansions they're going to add free DLC and dreaded DLC to improve the.
Oh,
but
threaded DLC.
But the fact they said free DLC, they at least they're thinking about it a bit more, and they will add confirmed.
Quick question: what is the free DLC with the Chaos Warriors?
What do you
Anyone
mean?
know?
What do you mean? What is the free DLC?
Yeah, because every DLC pack is going to have free DLC, right? So what is the free DLC for the Chaos Warriors of Chaos pack?
No, I didn't say every DLC will have free DLC.
No. They also said that in the Rally Point video. I remember listening to it.
For example, you could think of an Empire campaign or quest against the Chaos faction.
But have they said that was a thing?
I don't know. I don't think so. But that's a free DLC I can think of they could add with the Chaos faction.
Or maybe if there was a green skin DLC, they might throw in another green skin Lord, for example. I think is the point.
Okay. Any other further comments on that? Oh no! There's plenty to talk about. Never mind.
Going on to rosters.
Well, I think
Yeah.
I think because Sotek's excited about it, let him.
We just blow past it.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Oh, you like it? Too bad.
Okay, so you guys have seen the campaign map video, right?
Yes.
And that was a well done video, I have to say, except for the pre-scripted events where it made me nauseous.
Except for the trees.
On the on the forums, it's got 5 stars, I think.
Well, it should, because that was a really well done trailer. Now, here's the problem I have with that. I love how they just gloat past all these factions. They go past the Border Princes, the Bretonnians, which are obviously DLC, and then they also
You never know; they might be free DLC.
They skipped. You can sort of at some point you can see out the corner of your eye. You can actually see the vampire counts just a little bit. Just like, oh look, they're there. Yeah, at one point like they're there, and then they go to the.
Well. They
but
the lords with the blight, don't they?
Yeah, they fly right over in Bretonnia.
Also, Sotek, is that the blight that the vampire count gives off? Is that like lore accurate or whatever? They give off that stuff.
It's accurate in the sense that vampire counts at the end of the day are magical entities that get more powerful by poisoning everything around them. The more dead stuff there is, the more there is for them to work with. So,
but was there ever light in the lore?
When vampire counts spread, it is very well notated that the influence that they have on the world, just because of what they innately are, and that the fact that the magic they use pollutes everything around them, because that's the nature of dark magic, it does function like that. Has it ever been expressly used as an ability? No, this is a new, interesting thought.
I think Arch Warhammer, he said something along the lines that where they live, Slovenia or whatever, that just so happens to be a shithole. Sorry for this. But that's the words he used. I'm quoting.
Slovenia, it's which. Forgive me the way I pronounce the name of that land. I catch quite a bit of flack on it on my videos for accidentally saying Slovenia.
That's fine.
Poor Eastern Europeans.
Slovenia is next to Italy.
Okay.
But they the thing about that land is it has had such a collection of dark magic over various generations that it has literally become ingrained with the land, and thus has resulted in it being extremely dead, because it's a symbiotic relationship. So the more horrible a place is, the more death there is, the harder the life is there, the more suffering, the more dark magic is naturally drawn to it, which then creates more suffering, more death, more hardship, which then brings more dark magic, and it's this ever-flowing cycle that just keeps making the situation worse. And that's what happened to that particular part of the Empire, was that it got so bad that it's just incapable of recovering and just descended down into a pit. That's also what happened to the far south when Nagash came about and ended up destroying the Hekara. He did the same thing of creating a land that death became so intrinsic to it that it now can't break out of that cycle, and life can no longer flourish there.
Yeah. I think with the campaign map, the thing I'm personally most concerned with is the map variety. Like, in Sieges in Attila, there are about, 5 to 8 different maps per culture area or something. I can't remember exactly. But basically it's less than 10, and that is, in my opinion, pretty pathetic, I guess.
Yeah, I agree.
So, in my opinion, I hope they do it right in terms of sieges. I hope they have unique sieges. Like, I hope Outdorf will be a unique city. It won't be something that keeps coming up. And I don't know, maybe there'll be unique Karaks, and maybe there'll just be variety. I mean, in my opinion, this is to CA. I think they should insert an ability for modders to make a map, and then that map should be able to be put in a pool that comes up in. Sorry, I'm just saying. I went off.
No, it's fine. But CA's already come out that they will not support modding.
No,
at
that
all.
doesn't mean there won't be modding in it, because there is a. They said
there'll
on the
be
live.
people break it.
They hinted on the live stream that it will be possible. They said, like modders did before there were modding support, you can, if you can find the file, wink, whatever, then you can mod most things that the
modding support.
To that comment, though, they have said that the Karaks will be different, in that they are underground siege battles, and each of the actual Karaks themselves will be unique and have a proper aesthetic. So Karak-Kadrin will be a very different look and fight than Karaz-Karak and so forth.
I mean, that gives me I think I'm most concerned about the Empire and the Orc settlements. Like, I don't want the Orc settlements just to be the same palisade wall with the same...
was there just an Orky head on top?
Yeah.
Well, they already come out. They've already come out and said that they would when the orcs take over, they orcify settlement, and that's actually kind of cool. Where they put orc stuff on
I
it.
hope it's properly orcified, not just like.
But they can only orcify dwarf settlements.
Is this still a debate, or?
I think we're all agreeing.
We're agreeing now, don't it?
We're having too much fun with this. Oh yeah! Before Gambling rudely interrupted me like the bastard he is, I was going to mention, and I think he had an idea what I was going to mention, is right when the campaign trailer scrolls past the Blight guys, right, or the vampire counts. Oops. It goes to Chaos Warriors, and then it's like focusing on them. It's like looking at them, and like, oh, Chaos Warriors, so great, right? And they are pretty cool, but it's a painful reminder. One that they shouldn't have, I don't think, put in. That's just my personal
but if
thought.
they hadn't put that in, people would complain about the length of the video, probably. Because I think most videos CA have done, where it shows off the campaign map, for example, have been more than 15 minutes, maybe even exactly at 17.
I have some trouble remembering, but wasn't that video to highlight the greenskins?
Technically, yes.
Yes.
No, it wasn't necessarily to highlight, it was the green skin campaign, which it was a green skin campaign. So,
Yeah, but
And
we saw.
we're
more of
upset
everywhere
the
else.
vampire counts weren't highlighted in the greenskin campaign because
We're more upset that there was more chaos, loads of chaos.
Yep, because if you look at the timestamp of where they look at the Warriors of Chaos, it's significantly different of the timestamp.
this is more like a podcast than a debate.
Yeah, it is turning into that, and I think I would have preferred a
It's because we're all
podcast now.
Total War fans. We're not. We're all
Well,
Total
we
War
can't-
fans.
We all want the best for Total War at the end of the day, and if any of us don't, they should be, well, abruptly lynched.
Yeah.
Piss off Master Sith. Joking.
What?
Star Wars fan.
I mean, I worked out I have like 300 days worth of actual playing Total War straight. So
Well, it depends
No.
what Total War, but yeah.
all of it, you dickbag.
Oh,
Not
That's
Rome,
just a
not
total
Rome
excellent.
2. Not Rome 2.
All of it. I played over 1,000 hours of Rome too.
I can only play Rome 2 with mods, if I'm honest. But
I have a lot of mods.
Ooh,
I'm
wanna
glad
get-
that we have a good modding community.
We got to get
Yes,
Sotek's
same.
opinion on what does Mr. Sotek think of the chaos warping stuff, like the land warping, and what would you like to see from a lower perspective on that? I'm just curious.
Well, first of all, it's really appropriate. I was very glad to see that we're going to be able to do to the entire world what Azavar did to Prague, which, for those who don't know, when he defeated the city, I guess as the final kicking them while they were down, he had his sorcerers fuse all of the prisoners of war he left them in the city, and what he did to it was he had his wizards cast a spell that fused all of their souls into the very foundation itself. So if you were to walk into the city, there were literally people trapped within the concrete permanently for all of eternity in horrible agony, trying to get their way out of the brick and mortar and all this stuff. And it was a really twisted, screw-up city. And even when the Kislevites knocked it down and rebuilt it, it still had the same problem, and there was no way for them to deal with it. Which people still live in Prague to this day. It's kind of a messed up city. But the fact that we can go, and in the developer blog post, they show what Archaon does to a land he passes through. It's really exciting.
Yeah, but they didn't confirm that as Archaon.
It's Archaon.
just said it was a Chaos Lord.
I will bet my right leg that was Archaon.
Hit the saw.
But in any event, really exciting to see that Chaos can do that. I'm hoping that it's just as ugly when you go in to do a real-time battle as it is on the campaign map. I hope there's big cracks in the earth and lava pouring out and everything's super messed up. It's going to be interesting.
How that will translate to the battle map.
Yeah, and I'm interested also to see if Chaos successfully takes over one of your... Let's say you're playing the Empire and they come in and smash through Nordland. If you beat them back and then go back to take Nordland, about how are you going to fix that? How are you going to repair the damage? If you can repair the damage, to try and repair your Empire to prepare for the next... if you've got to deal with that and the vampire counts are coming up from the east... The only other thing I'm wondering about that they haven't talked about is what happens if you have large vampiric corruption and large chaos corruption in a zone. Are you just going to get double whammied, or can only one be present at a time?
Yeah, it's gross.
I would imagine it would probably work similar to the way that religion and culture worked in previous Total War.
You can only have one. Yep.
I think in a blog, in one of the blogs, they said, maybe the same blog, they said that the Norska raiders, because they'll be raiding you, every so often they might leave nasty surprises behind.
Yep.
So I don't know what kind of nasty surprises, but
I'm sure chaos spawn and all sorts of ugly things. Maybe a chaos portal. We've seen demons in the trailer, but they haven't talked about demons in the game yet. So I'm curious if those are going to work their way in.
I heard in a post where they're going to keep the Demons of Chaos a separate army from the Warriors of Chaos, like GW.
Yeah. I guess what I'm more trying to think is if one of those ugly surprises might be you go in and you find a enemy army, but there is a demon present or a small demon force.
Oh, by the way, I doubt there'll ever be naval combat in the whole trilogy because that's a separate license, from what I understand, of Games Workshop.
But what about the High Elves and the Dark Elves?
Yeah, but no.
Very eccentric on naval.
If they wanted to put naval combat in, they need to buy that really expensive other license.
What license is that? I don't even know about this.
I assume you're talking about Dreadfleet.
Yeah, because they might put that under Dreadfleet.
Dreadfleet was really odd though, in that it didn't involve most of the seafaring races. It was a game about going out to sea, and yet there were no Dark Elves, which was really weird.
What?
But there was a Chaos Dwarf, which made about as much sense as... I don't have a good analogy for that. But I would be really surprised if they had to invest in Dreadfleet. I honestly think, and this is just me personally, which could be totally wrong, I honestly think that they're waiting for the elves, the High Elves and the Dark Elves, to put in the naval combat. Because that's going to be a map where... Because, like they mentioned in the developer live stream, the old world, there's really not that much water going on the map. There's the edges of it, there's some ocean, but there's nothing in the center. If you had navies, that's a lot of investment to put into something you wouldn't get to use that much. Yeah. But if you're focusing on Ulthuan, Nagaroth, and Lustria, the entire center of the map is just ocean. So it would be much more appropriate in that expansion to focus on naval combat.
Isn't there some races that aren't really seafaring or don't have
yes,
navies?
There are a number of races that do not go out to sea.
For example, if one of those races become playable, which I'm assuming they will, how are you going to get to the other side of the map when the free expansions come out?
They have to make canon.
Magic.
Magic. Either that, or I imagine they'll just stick to the format they have in this first game, which is that units can move onto water and transport. You don't have to build transport ships.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about rosters and we went off topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We ended up with naval rosters.
With rosters, I hope that the modders will be able to add, because for Rome 2, for example, I use a lot of roster mods just to bulk up the rosters.
I think we all do.
So I think that will be something that it is possible to edit even without mod support. It'll just be slightly harder, I assume. But
what do you guys think about the current rosters? I like the dwarf roster personally. I think that's great.
Everyone's saying that the Empire roster is thin, but if you look at it, they're not they're not.
Here's the reason why I think that, though. Oh shit!
but
I can't comment.
But if you look at the Empire roster, and everyone says it's too thin, but they're missing what, 3, maybe 4 units. Even with those units in, it would still look like a thin roster in terms of
3 or 4.
how many troops.
Sotek, you'd know the numbers really better than us.
Yeah, they're missing. They've got about the same percentage of the roster for each faction or race that's been introduced, but obviously that hits some harder than others. Like dwarves, we're missing like 2 or 3 units.
Yeah,
I'm happy with dwarves because there's a lot of variety.
But like the dwarf army book's very very small, or army roster in tabletop. It's very very compact compared to most armies.
Whereas, serious, I was so hoping for the interaction between the Grudge, the Book of Grudge. What is it called?
Book of Grudges.
Book of Grudges and the Grudge Thrower.
Well,
like that, he pointed over like that guy. Woo!
Grudge throwers are fun. They are in the game though. Grudge throwers are in.
Yeah,
the one thing
I didn't see them listed.
Yeah, they're in.
What?
Are they in?
We don't have. They don't have bolt throwers. Bolt throwers are the only war machine not in yet.
Okay, my bad.
But the Chaos roster and the Empire roster are missing a number of things. The Chaos roster is missing all of the
greenskin roster's
yeah.
missing.
Well, the greenskin roster is
Twigs.
also the biggest in the game in tabletop, so I was not surprised at all that it was going to have some stuff cut out. But like for the Empire, we're missing we're missing the core unit knights. We're missing a lot of the really religious units. So there's no flagellants. There's no war altar of Sigmar.
DLC with
I imagine it will be.
The is there an archbishop guy?
Yes, there are the Arch Lectors, which are the Lord version, and then there's the Grand Theogenist Volkmar the Grim.
So I think
it's kind of like the Pope, except for he likes to smack people with hammers.
I reckon they'll bundle it. They'll add the Pope guy in with the Fanatics and Knightly Orders, maybe.
Yeah, but the Empire at most is missing probably 6 units.
I would like to be able to play as the other counties. Just gonna throw that out there.
I'd like to have archers.
Yeah, but surely that would be more than 6 units if you include all the different Knightly Orders.
Oh, if they go Knightly Orders, they're missing like 20.
Question: what if they add like fluff units, like Felix and Gotrek or something like that? You know, just get some fluff units. Will they add fluff units, and will they be free DLC or will they be DLC?
I'd imagine it'd be like a separate campaign if you had lots of cool little units, like Fellowship style.
I feel like that would fall into the mercenary category, though.
Yeah.
Which they seem to be staying
they're
away
kind
from.
of Empire and Dwarf, aren't they? So they won't go to a particular.
I mean, I would really like to run into some of the more famous heroes in the Warhammer world, but some of them are really difficult to put in. Like, how do you do Gotrek and Felix when Gotrek is so powerful that he literally goes up against the strongest monsters in the setting and just murders them on just a regular basis?
He's got plot armor.
You could just give him a buff against monsters, like a massive buff against monsters, but then when he gets swarmed, he's not very good against like individual like massive.
That being said, I think we will see a couple cool things like Bretonia, who definitely look like they're ready. They look like they're ready.
Almost.
And
I reckon they'll be free OC.
Yeah, I'm thinking free OC. Because I think that would go a long way to making the community feel better.
It's going to release, and then maybe 2 weeks to a month later, they're going to release Bretonia.
Because the fact that King Lewin Leoncoeur was already in, caught me really off guard. I wasn't expecting to see him ready to go yet. And you can see him in the walkthrough trailer. He's the very last Bretonian army you see when they're about to go into Norsca.
I think what they're doing is, there's 3 expansions. So the first expansion, they do most of it, so 90%, because they're missing out some units from the rosters, and they do 10% on the next expansion, and then the next expansion, they're going to do 90% and then 10% on the first expansion, like to add to that with the units.
But the thing of
in that expansion.
never mind. I see what you're saying.
Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yep, I get it.
Yeah, and they did say in the developer live stream that a good portion of the rosters would be filed in using free LC as the game progressed.
Yeah. I reckon they'll do a Dogs of War mercenary thing to add in mercenaries in like the second expansion or something.
Free LC, please.
And the last thing I really saw, for those people who are watching this that have not heard it and know about it, Marks of Chaos are in the game, so the Chaos roster got a whole lot bigger.
Thank God.
Thanks to that.
For people who don't know Warhammer, what's Marks of Chaos?
So they're the 4 great gods of chaos. There's Nurgle, the god of plague, Slanesh, the god of pleasure and
Does that
pain.
mean individual units to them?
Yeah, basically a unit can dedicate themselves to one of the gods, and there are bonuses that come with that, and it tends to change their aesthetic. So, for instance, their armor color tends to correspond to the god's patron god's color. So Khorne is red, Nurgle's green, Tzeentch is blue, and Slanesh is pink. And then they also hopefully will look aesthetically different in that Nurgle's warriors tend to have like clouds of flies around them. They're all, they've got their entrails hanging out, and it's all gross. Slanesh tend to be very lithe and
That'll be in the
lots of
Blood and
colors.
Gore DLC though.
But the fact the marks are in, which is nice because it was weird that they have one of the legendary lords for chaos is Sigvald the Magnificent, and he is Slanesh's chosen champion. He's the only Slanesh special character in the Warriors of Chaos list. So to have him in the game without marks would have been really weird because he's a god-dedicated character and should have god-dedicated units. So the fact that marks are confirmed put me at ease a lot for Chaos.
Yeah, I didn't know that, and that makes me very happy.
I think you need to mark some points in this. Time mark them. Time mark them. So say at wait, what time are we at? Say at like 1:47. Marks of Chaos.
Oh, yeah, that could be good. In
Oh,
any
you guys
event,
just watched
yeah.
the video of it.
Yeah.
What do people think of co-op? Like,
They've already confirmed that it's going to be the same repeat
yeah, but
over.
that's what everyone expected, to be honest. The only thing I don't like is how you can't play as the same faction. Like I was expecting there to be like Empire, but then you could choose each lord would be in a different region or something.
Like Europa, Universalis, where you have multiple people play as the same faction, sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's
Like the different lords. So,
Yeah.
Oh, the different lords.
Yeah,
So,
you,
like,
you,
So
Different
Carl
things.
France.
you
is in
can't do that.
Whitelands.
Yeah,
Carl
which,
France is in Whitelands, and then
Oh, what a
Balthazar
missed opportunity.
I
But-
thought you
but
meant
if
the
they
Empire
did-
Total War multiplayer.
if they did that, then where would Gelb, whatever his
Well,
name be,
I think
where would
that's-
he be situated?
He'll still be in the game, but he'll be an AI-operated force.
No, I know, but if they did the co-op where you could play as the same faction,
That-
where would they put him?
that's I think what the problem was is that Gelt and Franz both come from Reichland, and they have
Yeah.
the same starting location, which would make things complicated for having both players start in the exact same region. I don't think it'd be complicated, but it seems like they wanted to avoid that.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about adding more people to the multiplayer campaigns overall versus or co-op?
I don't
anyway?
think it should exceed 4 people at most. Like that should be the cap. It shouldn't go any more than that.
But shouldn't
Right.
it be
That's a bit crazy.
at the most? Because it's whatever you're willing to bear with. Like we've all played Civilization, right? Come on.
Yeah, but if you compare Civilization to Total War, a campaign in Civilization on normal speeds is like Total War takes a lot longer because Civ doesn't
battles,
have
yep.
the battles, does it?
Mhm.
So,
Not just
But then you
that.
can have the unit sharing.
Yeah, the unit sharing is all fun and that, but if you're playing with 8 people and you're
Yeah,
gonna
exactly.
you want to unit share an entire army in a battle
That's
that
why-
lasts for 50 minutes.
that's why it shouldn't exceed 4. I think it should be capped at 3, to be honest. if
I
they
think
do.
4 is great for
Okay.
2v2 versus.
Yeah,
I
but
s-
if you're in a campaign and there's one army against like 2 armies or whatever, then you're not going to be able to share the units out very well with 4 people.
Well, no, if like, let's say, because you won't not always gonna share units. I think 4v4 or not 4v4. Pardon me, 4 players makes perfect sense because of the versus mode. That could have 2 people pitted against 2 people, and then they can share units, or they can do 4 people free for all, or they can do 4 people cooperatively as well.
But wouldn't the 2
That's more
people?
overpowered with co-op though.
Yeah.
Or they could have co-op teams.
Co-op
it's
teams.
where it's forces 2 people on each team.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then they like
Yeah, but if 2 people on the other team, then they won't be able to do anything in the battles because they'd have to watch their.
Well, no,
If
they
they're fighting-
take
if
over
they would
the
be
AI
fighting
forces.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're
okay.
AI, that's how it works.
Just
Would
like they
that
do
be
another
lore
one.
friendly though?
Would be? It doesn't. This isn't about lore friendly. This is about
Is
a
it gonna be
game.
lore
Damn it.
friendly anyway?
This is total
I know,
war.
uh,
When is
It's
Total
about
War
law
been
friendliness
with
to
history?
Sotek.
Sorry, repeat the question for me.
Would it be lore friendly, for example, for Vampire Counts and the Chaos faction to team up against the Empire?
Or for the Empire and Chaos to fight them.
Or like Greenskins and Empire team up against Chaos and Vampire.
really, but I think that the co-op idea plays more to the sandbox ideology.
Yeah, they said that you can be an ally though if you're.
I was
orcs
gonna
or
say, is it lore friendly anyway with two people in co-op?
To be fair, I don't see why people are complaining about. Sorry, different topic. I don't see why people are complaining about when you can only colonize the dwarfs. Like, to be honest, if the Empire got into orc territory, right, and the fact they have to tear it down and then colonize it, that makes complete sense.
Yeah,
I know that they'd want to.
Upset about that,
but basically, the orcs can only colonize. They have nemesises, basically, who they can instantly capture their towns in. So the orcs can capture dwarf towns, but they can't capture empire towns, and they have to tear it down and then colonize it, like in Attila.
Wait, the orcs can't orcify human towns?
No.
No, the orcs tear down the town, and then they have to colonize like a camp on it, an orc camp.
We're still
that
waiting
too.
for confirmation on that, though, unless that blog post came out today and I missed it.
I don't know.
You don't know.
I think we're still waiting for confirmation.
That's like a big, like, it's probably going to happen.
I hope so.
I hope. Well, yeah. I think the only thing they can't orcify should be like capital cities. Like they should be able to orcify Altdorf and stuff.
What do you think of the city building and management? Because that looks pretty much directly from Attila.
No, because they stated in the live stream that each faction will have their own icons, so it doesn't mean it's from Attila. Like Empire could have actual picture icons.
Yeah, but
and they
that's
made
just
the
pictures.
they made.
I'm talking about the way the construction works.
I think he means about like the mechanics.
Yeah, but
yeah, not the picture.
But everybody complained that the orcs had Attila-like style things, didn't they?
Ah, those are orc-like.
I'm talking about the building.
But everyone was
trees.
complaining that no, they're like Attila or whatever.
Yeah, but that's not what you're saying. That's a bit off.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
that's not what you're
I'm
saying.
talking about the building.
Other people were saying. Like,
Other people aren't here.
They might be watching the video. Who knows?
Yeah, well, they're not here though. They're not in the debate.
Viewers.
They're in the future.
I don't give a shit. Kyle's more important.
I'm gonna read you each and every one of the comments.
Oh God, I don't want to. This is like half debate, half podcast.
It's like, geez, Beeves is right, asshole. Thank you.
Beeves is God. Beeves for God.
Hi. 25.
Oh, you have to say the S. You can't say beefs.
All right. So what would?
Beef.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna ask it this way because this is an easy way to do it. So Sotek, what is the one thing you very much want to see in Total War Warhammer?
Oh, really? You're gonna throw that at me?
Yep. Looking at your picture.
So for the entire series, or just for this game?
Like, just name one of the big factions you want to be like very well done. What you want done well about it.
It doesn't have to be a faction.
Okay, so what do you want?
Just
Yeah, I already knew that part because looking at your picture. What do you want the most well done about your faction?
I think the most important thing for the Lizardmen would be to get the thing that I want the most well done is I want the maps to be super interesting when we get the Lizardmen in. So if the Lizardmen, the way that it's looking right now, based on the way the maps are going, is that we've got the old world as one game. The new world is probably going to be its own game, and then the third game's a toss-up right now between some differing opinions. But with the new world, like the Lizardmen live in this extremely dangerous jungle, and every time there's been a Lustria campaign invented by Games Workshop, they've actually gone out of their way to make the maps more interesting, which I don't know if CA really can handle that. I hope they can. It would be amazing to see a great jungle environment.
From what I understand, it's like South America based.
They're hiring like 3 environment artists right now.
Great, because the Warhammer world is so diverse that's what matters the most to me is the diversity is so important, and it can be hard to explain to people just how vast the Warhammer world is, despite the fact we don't have like anything east of our equivalent to varied parts of the Middle East. Like China, the Far East, the Orient is all mythical stuff that's never actually had a Warhammer army based off it before for various reasons. But for me, getting the aesthetic right for every army and the way they fight, the way the area looks that they take battles in, so I want Naggaroth to look really bleak and cold.
Would you welcome mini campaigns, like just the campaign in Lustria, for example,
Oh,
where
yeah,
it's more
I would-
detailed?
Well,
I'm
especially
okay with that.
one
Like
thing
it's
I
like
would
zoomed
like.
in, basically.
One thing I would really love that would actually take time, but something I would throw money at, is if they had like mini historical campaigns. So like you could do the War of the Vampire Counts, where you could play Vlad von Karstein trying to take over Altdorf a couple hundred years for the modern setting, or the Black Plague when the Skaven, came up into the Empire, and it was a three-way war between the Empire, the Vampire Counts, and the Skaven.
That would be awesome.
Various
So, imagine-
historical wars, I think, would be a ton of fun, where we get to use some of the legendary heroes that aren't around anymore because they've
So
died or other things.
It'd be really cool if they did the third one like Kingdoms, did loads of little campaigns, loads of smaller ones.
Yeah,
That would
That
be.
cool.
I'm because of the Jigsaw map, which almost has me worried about how big the size of the final game is going to be. It's the third game is a really curious thing. I'm one of the people that tends to be more in favor of. I think they're going to expand the map to the southeast and go out into the Darklands and then south into Nehekara. But there are a lot of people that don't want them to go east and would rather them do something different. But the Total War Kingdoms idea could be really solid. Of having, okay, here's a little something you can do with the Ogre Kingdoms way out east, fighting their way west, or you can be the Tomb Kings down in the south, trying to claim over Nehekara and then move their way north.
I reckon the second expansion will go out to the Tomb Kings, so it will go down and then it will go to the right, like looking on the map,
Are
and
you
then
sure?
the third expansion will be to Lustria.
Yeah,
I was
Go
thinking
over
the
there.
second would be
Like,
more
if you
high elves,
think-
Lustria, that stuff.
the
Yeah,
second
but
one.
the third one, I think the third one will be the high elves, like the elves and Lustria, right? And then the second one will be Tomb Kings and better chaos and stuff like that.
That's what I thought at first, but there's been a few little things that some sources of mine have found that indicate the New World might well be the second game due to some projects that CA has already started on.
Oh, nice. Another team.
But little things, nothing
What
super
is that,
major.
like a Warhammer project? Another one?
I think it's just them starting to. I think there's a guy who was looking at some potential models for Lizardmen for a future game. I don't think he was actually building anything, but he was wandering around in a forum I used to be very, very active in because there were some models that we created over there that we were super proud of that became very popular in the Lizardmen community, which it was exciting to see CA visiting. Something people might not know is due to the popularity of faction loyalty, I'll call it, every single army in Tabletop has its own website. That's not official. It's just like if you play Wood Elves, you can go to Azrai, I think it's Azrai.net, and that's where all the Wood Elf players congregate and hang out. Or I spent many, many years on LustriaOnline.com, which is where all the Lizardmen players gather. Bugman's Breweries, where the Dwarf players gather, and so on and so forth. And most of the communities became aware that CA began to snoop around in the last few years, looking for things.
Things? What things?
Things
Can you
like
expand on that.
yeah. So like, there are some communities. A lot of people make custom models. So CA, we've already seen, has invented about one model for each army. In that we're seeing like armored chaos trolls for chaos. Those never existed in Tabletop. But I know Chaos players that kit bashed, which is where you take various model boxes.
I actually like the fact that they want to make new units outside of the lore.
Me
like,
too.
That
to
would be
expand the
cool.
rosters. Like,
Mhm.
that'd be
Or
better.
like if you play Empire, we now on the Empire roster there are basically grenade launching outriders. Those never
Yeah.
existed in Tabletop.
Yeah,
They sound cool. They sound really cool.
Yeah, those are totally new.
They sound overpowered a little bit.
I got a quote here that says they want to release every single faction.
Yep. They have
I was
officially
gonna-
stated they want to release all 16 factions. Which, for anyone that's wondering,
Okay,
the
they named
16th
15.
the 16th faction, or the 15th, whatever the last number is Chaos Dwarfs, for anyone that's wondering, because if you count the actual official armies, you only get up to one below. But they have said in the developer livestream they do not have any plans to release Kislev, Border Princes, or any of the lesser factions right now.
Kislev.
What, not even in DLCs?
Not
No
even as
bear
DLCs,
cavalry.
not yet. They said
Go
maybe in the
Bearcats!
future, but not right now.
Let's see the
Yeah, but
quotes.
to be fair, it's probably quite simple to unlock all factions. Like
think you'll
because
upset
even
Kyle.
without mod support in Rome Total War, like old ones like that, they could just go into the files and unlock the factions that way. So you could probably still
Hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, so that's something I think they'll come to eventually, but it seems like they're not. They're worried about probably the 5 or 6, if you count Bretonia, big ones right now. Not to mention, we know Athel Lauren. They did confirm in the
I
developer
just
live
want
stream.
Skaven.
Same.
Me too,
I think
actually.
I think Skaven. If Lustria is the second game, I bet that's where you'll get Skaven.
See, what I
Skaven
want-
Blight
I-
is
this
in the old world.
I think what I want them to do with Skaven is for a lot of the settlements, because it is underground, to attack their settlements, you have to go into the underground stance. I think, like to.
And you can pop up within there something? That'd be
No,
freaking
like-
crazy.
Overpowered.
You can't
Overpowered.
you can't access the settlements they have unless you're in underground stance.
But how would that?
And then because you're in underground stance,
Because that's how they
Skaven
attack
have-
cities.
What?
I said,
Yeah,
you're
but
right,
just
that's how
for
they
Skaven.
attack.
Just for Skaven to get like to move about in their area, or I don't know, to get to their cities, you have to go into the underground stance because they are underground cities. Aren't
Yeah. Very true.
That would be a good unique thing, because like
Well-
we're playing co-op, the Skaven can use that to their advantage and like do interception, whatever.
But there's so much going on in the first map that it's like, I remember when I saw the map, I thought somebody was pulling a fast one on me because it's so big. I mean, that is a huge map.
Bigger than what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and we've got areas like Athel Lauren. They've said right now you can't. It's impossible to go in. Your armies will not be able to physically enter it.
If elves are elves in it as a non-playable faction,
No,
if Athel Lauren's there,
Athel Lauren is not accessible, and there are no Wood Elf armies yet.
so basically it's not in the game.
You cannot go in there yet.
It's just impassable terrain.
At the moment, yeah. That being said, I imagine that is a very quickly planned DLC.
But that gives me the idea. Yeah, it will either be a DLC or it will be in the expansion. I can't talk. Expansion as yeah, as a sort of jigsaw. I keep saying.
Maybe
Well,
as a
the
jigsaw.
way they talked about it seemed very heavily insinuated that it's going to be released quickly, but
The Wood
it's
Elves?
not in yet. Yeah, the Wood Elves, yes.
Good, okay.
Because right now, on this map, essentially on this map, the remaining factions that have to come out on this map, because they don't exist anywhere else in good enough numbers,
Will the pirates off of
the Pirates of Sartosa.
yeah, will they be in it? Do you think?
No, they said they will not. They're like Kislev.
Ever?
They're not right. They don't have any plans to at the moment. I imagine if there's enough community interest, once the game's out and about, they might get around to it. But they are not on the docket right now.
Now, how badly do you guys think the sales have hurt since the DLC controversy? Because if you just look at the video, you're going to notice a lot of
Not
unhappy
very
people.
much. I don't think the sales have been hurt that much, to be honest.
It's
Because a lot of people are still going to buy it after release. They're just not going to pre-order. Also, a lot of the Warhammer fans, they probably think this is heaven compared
Yeah.
to Games Workshop. So they don't care. They're going to still pre-order.
I can tell you, I have, in all the communities I visited, especially after the Chaos DLC, there were parties going on. I did not meet a single person that was like, "Oh darn, DLC." Everyone was just like, "Oh, Chaos, yay!"
Because the fact-
Workshop,
But
they
it's a
don't
gamer
care.
standpoint. This
Because-
is a video game.
Yeah, but the fact a lot of the audience for this video game will be from the Warhammer community.
But it's
And
also to
the
introduce
Warhammer
more new
community-
ones.
And the Warhammer community, it actually thinks this is heaven because
Yeah,
the amount they have to pay for single armies in Warhammer
Yeah, I
It's
know.
so much
is
cheaper.
so,
This is
so much cheaper.
so much cheaper.
They used
Yes.
to be-
Like, if you
they
buy
used to be
DLC in
built
this,
by
think
Games
about it.
Workshop.
You get lords, you get armies, you get quests, you get more skill trees for the lords, you get maps, you get, I don't know, you get battle maps, you get the
Y'all,
campaign map, blah blah blah. Right?
I assume everyone here is also in support of them. Hopefully, are adding an army painter at some point.
Yes.
I would
For fuck's
expect
sake, that should be
they,
the base game.
Well,
One of
didn't
the
they have
one
that
of,
in Shogun?
one of the very first interviews. I think it was Angry Joe interviewing. Oh, what's his name?
Simon, or
Simon.
the guy who
Simon
smokes
Mann.
cocaine.
Yeah,
snorts
Simon.
cocaine.
Basically, he asked about Army Painter, and he kind of insinuated that they haven't. It's not going to be in first release, but it will be probably a DLC or a free DLC.
Well, he's like
Like a cheap-
maybe.
Mind
But
you,
he
Joe
kind of it was
thinks-
kind of like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge kind of thing.
Mind
It's, like,
you,
it's probably they're thinking
yeah,
about.
damn it.
Screw you.
But it
Sorry,
will probably
Kyle.
I've been
literally,
trying to say something forever.
literally.
waiting
I'm
longer.
sorry, Carl. One more thing. It will literally be $2.99. I reckon.
Want to bet?
I think
If it's more, you buy me it.
no.
God, you have to buy me the High King
Dangerous
edition,
bet. Dangerous
Every-
bet.
everyone-
Okay,
Everyone
okay.
who watches
If
this
it's
video
more-
also gets it
if
as
it's
well from
more,
you.
if it's more than £3, then
No,
I'll buy-
$3. Nope,
if it's-
$3.
No, £3. If it's more than
£3.
£3, I'll buy everyone in this chat the Army Painter. But if
okay.
it's less than £3, you Beavers, you have to buy it for everyone.
I will do.
Right? Right?
My God.
I'm cool with that, actually.
I just got free DLC. Yeah.
No matter what, we get free stuff.
All right, Kyle. What
Well,
were you
you
gonna
guys
say?
do.
But
Well,
I'm
fuck, I
looking
forgot
at.
half- God, I'm gonna lynch you. I'm gonna lynch you. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go to wherever you live and I'm gonna do it. I don't even know how to tie one of those knots, but I'm gonna find it.
By the way, this is pounds, not dollars. So
I wanted to
Yeah,
say
I know.
because
I'm English,
looking at
remember?
Rome-
good, I know.
I give
I'm
up one
looking
life.
at Rome 2 DLC, and the
$85.
stuff that goes under £3 is Blood Pack, Beasts of War Unit Pack, and Daughters of Mars.
Don't get
That's
done or either.
But they weren't on release.
I just hope the Army Painter isn't like 20 quid.
I cannot wait.
It's its
If
own
it's
$60
quid,
expansion.
If it's 20 quid, it will take a while to.
If it's 20 quid, you can give me something else if you want instead.
Oh.
I don't like where this is gonna be going. Knowing beavers.
Don't worry, I didn't say it. Just in case.
Oh wow! Guess what, guys? I forgot what I was gonna say. Thanks.
You're welcome. Oh, that means I can talk more now. Then, doesn't it?
Go ahead. Why not? Life's pointless now. This turned into a podcast. didn't it?
It'll come back to you. Well, there's nothing wrong with a debate/podcast.
Also,
That's what I'm gonna name this video.
extra
Debate.
information. I'm not sure if I've said this, but 81% of Attila sales were digital. So it shows how they're moving from physical copies to digital, and so therefore they're moving to Steam, and so therefore Steam are going to take a cut and
I
cut
feel
into
like
their
they've been on
profits.
Steam for a long time, to be honest.
Yeah, but they're focusing even more on it.
Yeah, but I mean, they kind of have for a while now.
Yeah, I know, but they're focusing even more on it.
Yeah,
And
but
less on
But it's been
physical
gradual for
copy.
years.
Oh, I saw Attila on
Yes,
Shale
gradual
Shale not too long ago. I should really change my review of Attila to negative because I don't like it as much.
Also, apparently, the average Total War player plays for 104 hours, like base game, and DLCs extend it by about 50 hours. Like proper DLCs, like faction DLC.
I want to say I don't count the Attila DLC as DLC right now.
No.
Yeah,
It's just
no,
not
don't
like
get
this.
Attila. Don't. I
But
regret.
I wish Age of Charlemagne they changed the siege maps to be more.
Oh,
No.
it sucks.
Don't
I
even-
reviewed that piece of shit. Fucking sucked.
I thought you weren't going to buy Total War Warhammer or any Total War.
I wasn't, but I lifted the ban because I've had numerous requests to cover it on my 30 minute.
So therefore
thing.
you're going to lift the ban for Warhammer.
I am not going to lift the pre-order ban at all. I'm not going to lift the play.
So you're going to buy it.
I might.
Hypocrite.
I'm not. No. Shut the fuck up, man. I'm gonna
Hypocrite.
fix your sorry ass. I'm gonna rape your fucking poodle, you bastard.
Doesn't make him a hypocrite.
What?
What are you on about?
My poodle? I don't have a poodle.
Well, you're gonna get one.
And
I'll
then
get
he's
you
gonna-
for Christmas. Shit. What were you talking? Wait, no. Say what you're saying again, Gamelin. You were saying something about me not
Hypocrite.
buying.
Hypocrite.
That doesn't
No, go
make
to
him a
more-
hypocrite.
He's
Go
not
more
a
detail.
hypocrite.
It does make him a hypocrite.
How
Wait,
does it?
go more into detail because I had something to say about that. I forgot. You fucker.
Again.
My memory's going.
Mhm.
It makes him a hypocrite because he said he's not going to buy any Total War series or whatever.
No, not really.
Like Warhammer.
Right.
Hypocrite.
True.
You think
I
he's gonna-
did say that. Yes, I did say that.
So,
But at the
so
time,
you are, yeah.
no.
Right.
No, listen. when you're extraordinarily upset, you'll say things that you don't wish you want to say. Now, does that mean I'm going to buy any Total War? No, does that mean I'm...
We
Wait,
had a conversation.
I'm not talking, you son of a bitch. I'm not going to buy Total War Warhammer. At the moment, I'm not going to buy it still.
But you will, eventually.
I might,
If
maybe.
it's-
You know,
I hope
No,
you do. It's gonna be a fun game.
maybe. I don't know. Again,
You sent several messages to me on Steam saying how you weren't going to buy it
So
ever.
back
definitely.
focus.
Okay. So, Tech, go for it.
Go for it. What am I going for it on?
What?
Right, I'll talk now. Okay.
Okay. Y'all
I
have
like
not.
Okay.
I like
Debate.
Master Sith hasn't
Debate.
said anything for the
Is he even
past-
here? Wait, Steve, are you still conscious?
Steve,
Yes.
I like how you've just been sitting here listening to us for the
Are you
past
like playing
hour.
Well, you hear how hard of a time Kyle's having at interjecting.
Yeah, God.
I'm just sitting here.
Yeah, but he's
Gambling-
having a hard
gambling
time
sucks.
because he's
Gambling
Kyle.
sucks. Everyone gambling sucks because he interjects so much. I've been trying to talk like a billion.
Okay,
If you
I'll let you
hear-
talk.
If you hear grunting and throughout the video, like, that's me trying to
So
talk.
I've done that a lot as well. Yeah.
I'll let you talk.
You're a very dominating person. Like, you're constantly dominating the arguments. Like,
Doesn't
even
understand
your
the system.
partner.
I
is-
like arguing.
Look at he's
It's not
cowering.
an argument. It's a debate. You dickhead.
Look at he's
Fuck's sake.
sad.
Into an argument.
I got him
So-
in with a bunch of peasants.
Bunch of peasants. I went to Oxford
Okay.
University.
Good
Okay.
work, what you do.
So,
Calm down.
do
I'll
like
let
the
you
debaters want to talk about how they feel about the chaos thing? I don't think the
Yeah,
debaters
please.
have done that yet.
I did.
Thank you, Loremaster Sotek. You are, you know what? You're
So
taking
this
charge.
is how I feel. I'm joking.
No. We're gonna go in order from Loremaster Sotek on my screen to the left to Sith. So, Loremaster, how do you feel about the DLC, and what do you think about the costs? Like, what do you think would be fair? Go
I'm
for it.
gonna stay out of it. That's what I'm gonna do.
No, you have to. You have a choice. You have a
I'm gonna
choice.
buy it. I'll put it that way, okay? I intend to get the High King edition because I'm a total sellout for Warhammer. I'll just say that now.
Trade us all. Okay, now moving on to Beavers. Beavers, what do you think of about the cost and the DLC in itself?
Right. So first I'll go to the. I think this Total Warhammer is probably the most expensive Total War I'll have bought when I buy it. Because I remember Rome 2 was fairly cheap because it was money off, even though it was pre-order for some reason. I think it's because it's in Britain. Total wasn't too expensive. I think this will be the most expensive. If it's versatile, it's worth it. You know, if it's got lots of variety, I'll put in many thousands of hours, no doubt. I'm not super happy about the incentive and DLC stuff. But if it's good, if the game's good, I'm okay with it. It's only if the game's bad that I don't really like it. So if they release a terrible game that's not finished, then with loads of DLC before the game's really done, then I'm not going to be happy at all. However, if it's a masterpiece, as good as we want it to be, then honestly, I'm completely fine
What if
with
it's
it.
average?
If it's average, I'd maybe want a bit of a lower price. But yeah, that's my feelings on that.
All right, so gambling, your thoughts?
Yeah, like Beaver said, I think I'm absolutely fine paying for it.
Is that it?
Yeah, yeah, that's
I was
it.
expecting much
That's
more.
the least amount I've
Don't
talked.
worry, you'll get a book from him in the week.
That's-
You'll get it in the
that's
mail.
it. That's the
Great.
least amount I've talked.
Boy, gambling.
That's it.
All right. Look at you talking now. Shut the fuck up. So, all right, Mr. Sanders, would you please inform us of your opinion? And
Yeah, I just wish they took a bit more time and were willing to invest more into the game to just make it a more all-round, completed product. Like I said to you, particularly before, if they delivered a high-quality game with more factions and that would have resulted in more costs, I would be more than willing to pay up to 90 euros for a game that's just well polished and big and can explain to me why it is so expensive. So I'm not in favor of the DLC, but I can understand them needing the money to actually develop it.
all right, Steve. Sith. Oops. Oh shit. Fuck. Damn it. Shit.
No,
I'm all for DLCs. I understand that they do have to make the extra resources that's required. I do understand that, but at the same time, a DLC should probably be something that's not exactly essential for the game to be considered complete. It should be basically additional content, not ones that should be part of the base game.
All right, and I agree with that line with my perspective, which everyone obviously knows. But yeah, I don't think this DLC was necessary to do, especially so far in advance. I just think it was it's also just bad, especially because it puts a bad taste in, because everyone still remembers Rome 2, and it's just that stinging, burning memory of failure that just doesn't seem to go away.
I think the point is they did it. So
Hey, this is my closing statement.
Sorry.
You always interrupt me.
I had to talk. Sorry.
Bloody Essex boys.
I know, right?
Oh God. Well, I just don't think it's, I don't think it's a good idea, especially looking at recent events. It was a poor decision, on my opinion, my personal opinion. Fuck you, gambling, you little bastard. And yeah, so I think we've covered. Have we missed any topics? Like, we have been. How long is this video? Christ on a stike. It's 1 hour and 18 minutes. Holy shit. Fun. Anything we missed?
I don't really think
I
so.
think,
I
the only point to say is how the price of the license that Games Workshop sold CA was probably quite high, so that could be a contributor.
They didn't. I don't think. Did they get the license, or did they buy it from when THQ bit the dust?
That was like when THQ died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because THQ had the
But
Warhammer
either way,
license.
it's a Warhammer license, so it would be fairly expensive.
Well, THQ could sell it real cheap because they died. They died.
Yeah, but because they died, they would have sold it for a lot.
THQ did not have the Warhammer Fantasy license, to my knowledge.
Oh, they had the 40K license. Oh.
Yeah,
those
I
are-
think Games Workshop had the fancy license.
Yes,
still.
Games Workshop had very recently lost their last Warhammer game, and were looking for someone else to sell it to, and CA got their hands on it.
And so they probably did sell it for a fair amount, so that's probably a contributing reason to why CA have a slightly lower budget, at least.
Or that Sega is kind of a dickbag and doesn't like to invest in CA. Remember, Sega also considered Alien Isolation a disappointment in sales, despite the fact that it was a resounding success.
Oh, is it? And Games Workshop can't be picky right now because their money isn't going very well.
Well, if you look at all the previous fantasy Warhammer games, a lot of them have failed in the past. So this is basically, most probably, one of the last fantasy games ever that's going to
What about Vermintide?
It seems they're starting
One-off.
some end time series. Yeah. Funny enough, we actually have more Warhammer Fantasy games coming out and out right now than have ever been before, which is really bizarre.
Well, I think it's kind of like a
I'm
last
okay with
rock,
that.
almost,
Yeah, but isn't
in a way.
isn't the license nowadays being thrown left and right? Whoever wants to develop
Yeah,
can
if you
get
look
it
at the
cheap
phone
as.
apps, there's a shit ton of phone apps coming. Shitty ones, too, that look like shitty ones.
I mean, there's Games Workshop been giving out loads of stuff. I mean, 40K's got loads as well coming out, haven't they?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
4K's
they've got
got a
that.
couple
They've got the
games coming.
space one, haven't they? What's it called?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh! That fucking-
Battlefleet Gothic.
Battlefleet Gothic.
Yeah!
that's it.
That game looks
Success, I
sick. Is it going to have every fleet? Because that's what it sounds like from the development team.
There is virtually
Chaos
no
and
information on that yet.
I keep
once
hearing
they'd
people...
announced the factions.
They just announced the Orc faction. Okay, no, wait, that's a different game. It's a different game. But it's Warhammer, so it's kind of relevant. But it's not. Okay. But I don't like Sega. I like CA, personally. At least as long... I guess Halo Wars will confirm. Halo Wars 2 will confirm whether CA is the one who likes the pure incentives. Then again...
In my opinion, I think that CA should go independent again and just put something up like was said
Can they?
earlier.
No, they can't.
Like was said earlier, where you donate if you want to support them.
I don't think they can, because Sega's kind of a... You know how bad EA is. Well, Sega's like becoming the new EA.
No,
So
the reason
I would
they
argue...
the reason they can't is because Sega announced they're gonna stop with PC gaming. They're completely gonna go back to mobile gaming, and you can see it back in the listed company of Sega Europe, which included
But Sega Europe,
several gaming workshops or several game developers, and they've all been now transferred to Creative Assembly. So 3/4 of the company, Creative Assembly, is there because of Sega.
They're also so entwined with Sega that they could never break free. What would happen is either Sega goes under, and then developers come back up, sort of like the Command & Conquer developers keep reappearing with like Grey Goo and things like that. they'd go underground and they'd pop up with like indie titles like that via Kickstarter or things like that. That's how they would do it if and when Sega collapses.
All of Sega's assets are being moved to Creative Assembly. At least that's what I can make out of their combined finances of Sega Europe and Creative Assembly.
Sounds like they're falling. It doesn't sound like Sega's doing very well. Let's just leave it at that. And again,
Like
I
I
blame
Sega
all this
already
on
stopped
Sega.
with PC.
I don't blame CA as much as when I did in the original video I did on this subject. After reading more and more and more and just studying this topic a lot more, it seems like this is not. CA's always been sort of disclaiming, like even in that blog post, which is essentially you can't really credit it. It seems like they mentioned like, "Oh, Sega, you're so great because you're funding us." It's like, why would you mention that?
I've got to go now, guys. So it's been good.
Oh, is it your bedtime?
Nice chit chat.
No,
Wait, let's just
I'm
all
having
end it
dinner.
off here. We're gonna end it off together. We're gonna end it off together. Okay.
I have to eat.
Bedtime.
So Loremaster, you can also check out
Same.
Loremaster Sotek's videos. I'll link him. He's a great guy. He is.
Thank you.
Now he said thank you, so he's a subpar guy. Just kidding.
Okay.
You're a great guy. These guys are all great. Thank you so much for all being here. I really
best.
appreciate it. Beavers is not. Beavers is by far the worst.
No.
Worst guy.
No.
Shame when you
Shut up, Essex boy.
Until one of the two buys us the DLC now.
Well, yeah, apparently,
Yeah, I can't lose in this deal.
so if I don't end up getting the Warhammer game, I'm gonna just have random DLC for it in my
Give it to
life.
one of the fans. Give it to one of the fans. I'll buy it from.
Yeah, just do a giveaway on our channel.
Well, that means Gamling's going to buy it for all of us.
I generally don't do giveaways.
Well,
Don't mention
you'll
that.
have us.
No, it's not going to happen.
It will.
Right.
It will. It'll be under. It'll be under. It'll be under.
No.
I'll let Sotek end it off because he can end it with his recording. So I'll end it at the same time. Sotek's last words, boy. Go.
My last what
Man.
now?
Last
Last
words.
word.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun for the podcast / debate / rambling. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a good night.
Yay! I ended it. I think.